All right, fine. We'll talk about it. Melania Trump. Yes, there's some there's some gossip about her. And sometimes I struggle to be convinced that these stories rise to the occasion, right? Because I don't want to be accused of being some sort of tabloid. But sometimes we gotta check in on just how much she doesn't like her husband. It's a notable political phenomenon, please. Please. Ross Story reports Melania hates her husband and secretly hopes Kamala Harris wins. I think there's some seriousness to this comment made by an ex-Trump official, and it's made a little bit in jest. We'll see. We'll see. I'll play the clip for you. But former Trump White House official Anthony Scaramucci believes that former First Lady Melania Trump secretly wants no part of returning to the White House. Per the Daily Beast, Scaramucci recently appeared on our friends over at the Midas Touch podcast, in which he discussed what he believed were Melania Trump's real feelings about the 2024 presidential campaign. Now, before going further, and I'll show you the clip at issue here, we'll go on to some other clips as well. I do want to pull out, because I mentioned Midas in reference to myself. Producer Jaden found this on Reddit, which is this is so cool. Love you guys. Someone made a bumper sticker that says support independent journalism. And it has Midas Touch's logo, it has David Pakman's face, and my face. And they have this bumper sticker on their car. Isn't that so cool? So, whoever made that, you're great. You have Daily Beast also reporting on this. Anthony Scaramucci drops bombshell Melania claims. So let's just not waste any more time and watch the clip.
You're saying no one wants her to win more than you.
Nobody wants her to win more than me. Maybe Melania Trump. That could be the only person I think of, because she hates him. Like I judge the hatred of Donald Trump by the Melania standard. Like Ben hates Trump, but slightly less than Melania. My wife hates Trump as much as Melania. I've met one person that actually hates Trump more than Melania. That's General Milley. He's the only guy I've met so far that actually hates him more than Melania. You know what I mean? I always judge the hatred of Trump by the Melania standard.
What Trump called.
We are in the home stretch to 1 million subscribers. If you want to support in the effort to get us there, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button if you haven't already, to continue getting the word out. Thank you so much. Back to the video. I'll play more, but hold Mark Milley in your head, that term, because I want to go there next.
For the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, to be killed.
Yes,
he called for him to be
He's the despicable guy for doing that, and it's also caused a threat to General Milley and his family. And the fact that we're even talking about an enemies list in a country like ours, which is the longest standing Republican representative democracy, 250 years, it's just a disgusting thing that we're actually have this guy. But I blame the Republicans. I blame the cowardly Republicans that allowed him to facilitate the takeover of their party. And now we have to put up with this nonsense.
Yeah. Referring there afterwards, since Mark Milley was mentioned, to the enemies list that Trump has, presumably, and how Mark Milley is on it for the most crazy reasons on the part of Trump. But on the Melania stuff, I think, so points I've heard made as to the significance of this relationship, aside from them just being really famous. But what's more than just the gossip of it? I think it does come down to, and again, this point has been made by many others, how there's this party of family values aesthetic that Republicans pretend like they embody, but then Trump being the civilly liable sexual abuser who cheated on all of his wives, and him having a bunch of wives or former ex-wives, and his character bragging about sexually assaulting women, and then this type of relationship with his wife, it doesn't seem to fit into that mold. So that I resonate with. And then the thing I come back to a lot is, hey, is it notable at all to people that if Melania Trump can't barely support her husband, why should we? If the wife of the person who wants to be president can barely get themselves to show up in public with him, and support his presidential campaign, even though on paper she does, then why should we? If Melania Trump doesn't think that Trump's legal cases are witch hunts enough to show up there and say that in front of the courthouse when Trump's out there every day, why should we think his cases are witch hunts? So that also does resonate with me. And Scaramucci, had for a period of time some connections, was a former top Trump aide briefly. But this is well founded beyond Scaramucci's claims, just how much she doesn't like the idea of once again being in the White House. It seems while she was in the White House, she, especially towards the end, just really, that role was not what she wanted to be doing. And we did cover already reporting about how she doesn't plan necessarily to live in the White House this go round if Trump wins. So a very different relationship than Kamala Harris and her wife, Doug Imhoff. Now, Mark Milley was mentioned, and do stay for this too, because this, I think, is far more substantive, and that is how someone with the character, integrity, and legacy of Mark Milley, who has served his country honorably for most of his life, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I should say, under both Trump and Biden, how even he, top military leader, was able to acknowledge in ways that had to be coded a little bit because you're not supposed to, in the military, be making political points. He had to speak out a little bit. This was during his retirement speech.
To a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that is America, and we're willing to die to protect it. Every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Guardian, and Coast Guardsman, each of us commits our very life to protect and defend that document, regardless of personal price.
And you might remember he also apologized publicly for being allowing himself to be dragged into that stunt when Trump walked over to the church and held the Bible upside down, as it's now very notably been remembered, because it was such an improper use of a military leader to give this aesthetic of Trump's power as he walked and protesters were pushed back, and he regrets that. And then another Mark Milley moment that I really love and I've played for you many times is when people like Matt Gaetz in a hearing were attacking the military and him for being too woke. You, General Mark Milley, are too woke. And his reaction was just brilliant.
Sure. First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military. And
I get chills every time, all right? Call me sensitive, I do. Because there's something about seeing, I've said this before, but Matt Gaetz' face so smug when it cuts to him. Oh, how dare he say this? As General Mark Milley is saying, not that every one of these examples someone might cite of something that was said in a classroom or I've seen, I want to get into, but games that have been played in classrooms in the name of illustrating a point about oppression that go too far and that you could say alienate people. It's not that we're saying, yeah, any little viral example of some one-off crazy thing is to be defended. But instead, the overarching attack on intellectualism or being educated on different subjects or grappling with, or the attack on certain text, certain books, thinking that the way this is their motivation, prevent people from believing something is by preventing them from ever hearing about it. And that attack is not justified, and it is justified to be well-read, to understand a lot of these subjects, and to grapple with the hard truths of our past and present. And that doesn't make you any less patriotic to acknowledge injustices. It makes you more so, because you want to understand the country that you love so much, in the case of Mark Milley, that he's been willing to defend his entire life. And then Matt Gaetz' face. Ugh, gross. I've served too. I won't say it. I won't make the joke. You can fill it in. Let me know what you thought of that segment, and you can get extra access to content by clicking the join button below.